I've been living in the UK for 5 whole years now, and I've noticed that the communities over here are based around a culture of healing. That healing is their center point. And I think it's time that changed. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with healing. It's a beautiful, important part of the stages of community development. And in fact, having communities based around healing is one of the developmental stages we need to go through on the path to where we're going. But just like our toddler years and our adolescent years as humans, it's something that we grow through as we come into a more mature form of community. Now, these healing cultures, they are made up of breathwork, and they are made up of healing-based sharing circles, and they're made up of healing-inspired dances and cacao ceremonies and ceremonies, medicine ceremonies that have healing as the core prayer for coming together. And it's become a little bit overactive now, actually. And that is in no way saying that these things need to stop, because they're actually essential. But at the moment, rather than being 30% of what's available, they are about 98% of what's available to the wider communities. At some point on the journey of wellness and spiritual restoration and personal development, we begin to grow a spine, we begin to individuate. That means that we come to understand ourselves, we come to be ourselves, we come to know the part of the greater puzzle that each of us individually hold. These healing and wellness spaces are supposed to hold point for moving through those early stage trauma cycles that bring us back to some kind of solid ground that allows the spine to grow, that allows us to individuate. But if our response to the existing trauma that lives in all of us is the center point of our communities, we actually miss this fundamental beauty that is our shared co-creatorship. And what I mean by that is our dreaming of culture, our refining of how we be as communities, the arrival of new leaders powerfully stepping into their place, not as separate beings with their separate empires, but actually really powerfully and beautifully working together to create something that either hasn't been for a very long time or is entirely new. So I'm not advocating for no breath work or no sharing circles or no wellness centers or anything like that. Rather, I'm actually speaking to what comes next, and the next developmental stage of communities, the next developmental stage of collectives that is actually an essential part of our growth as a collective body and as individual beings, actually. And if we don't find our way to those deeper maturities as a community, it actually creates whole new cycles of generational trauma. So we have to somehow find our way through where we currently are and the wellness set point of the culture of our communities, and grow into a place where we're not just helping people to heal, we're helping them to become what they actually are and take their place within the community and then live that place, live that role. And for me, this is where healing communities become communities of creatorship and leadership, where we each individually step into our role in the greater whole. And we're not just dependent, we actually become interdependent. We become in some way fundamentally okay. And from that ground of okayness, we can then begin to contribute to the wider field. But at the moment, what's happening is when someone becomes fundamentally okay and they step into their leadership, they have to go somewhere else and set up their own kind of healing empire or healing field, rather than integrating powerfully into the community and becoming a force of change for that community. Because as each of us grow and evolve, we're actually here to radically and profoundly influence, shape, and eventually transform the very communities that grew us. That's how evolutionary community works. That's how our transformational journey as collectives work. And it's something that is really challenging, but fundamentally beautiful. So how do we meet this from where we are right now? Well, it asks for those who are holding healing-based communities based around cultures of healing, to be willing to let those within those communities step into their power, step into their voice, not just stay in underneath their leadership or underneath their tutelage, but actually inviting them into their power and into their place within the wider community. And those who've been in healing loops for years and sometimes decades, they are asked now to step into their leadership, step into their voice, and really play their role within the greater whole. It's a challenging one, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. That's why we're all here, to become what we are and to play that role in our communities. And me, I'm going to continue offering spaces that are beyond the field of healing, that ask for some kind of fundamental ground of okayness, some kind of readiness to not just stay in the circle of healing, but to step into the spiral of transformation, leadership, and playing your role in the greater story on earth in these times.